This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
What's up, real MVPs? Ricky Widmer here, and welcome in to the Wrecking Crew. New podcast here on MVP episode 1. It's always a good day when it's opening day. I am joined, I can't see him right now, and there's a reason why. I will get into that in a second, but I want to introduce him first off the cuff so we can get to talking. I am joined with my co-host, first time here on MVP, Tim Shaw. How we doing, Tim? Woo, Tim, yay! Woo!
Hey, thank you for being here, for having me. This is awesome, man. I can't wait to talk about Cubs with you.
So, Tim, I'm gonna ask you a simple question off the cuff. For anyone coming in and they're like, what's the Wrecking Crew? If they're not on YouTube and they can't see our little background that has, you know, the red scoreboard, it's got the bottom of the Ernie Banks statue. What is the Wrecking Crew about? What are we talking about, Tim?
Well, the Wrecking Crew is the ultimate batting lineup. The Wrecking Crew is the old Cubs that were dominant.
They were dominant. And who's the Wrecking Crew of MVP?
Ernie Banks, I believe.
No. The Cubs of MVP of us. You and I, we're the Wrecking Crew.
Oh, well, Ricky and Timmy.
Ricky and Timmy. Yeah, this is the podcast where we're talking nothing but Cubs. We figured we'd a Bulls podcast, and I've been really depressed with the Bulls podcast. I was talking to Dave about this last night. Super depressed with the Bulls of late and basically needing therapy sessions. It was nice that Tim came to me and was like, hey, do you want to talk Cubs? And I was like, yeah, I'd love to talk Cubs. And then that's basically how this started. We're like, shoot, let's do it. Let's talk Cubs all year round. I'm hoping for a better year. Before we get into everything, though, let me do some quick housekeeping. Tim, this is where usually... So, Tim's not on camera. We're in the process of getting him one. But, Tim, this is where you get to sit and look pretty most days. Okay. Most days, you just... Because I'll just run right through it. Discord, Grace Community Universe, down below in the description. You can also support us. Patrons watching us live. Hello, patrons. You can check out the Patreon page down below in the description as well. Social medias, TikTok, MVP.vids, Instagram, Most Valuable Pod, Twitter, MVP_vids. Go follow us at all those. Sub to us here if you haven't already. Hit that like button, help with the algorithm, and let us know what you think down below about anything we talk about today. But Tim, today to start, I'm throwing a curveball at you, Tim, right off, a little off speed, right off the cusp. I got a little trivia for you, Tim. A little opening day trivia from the Chicago Cubs. And the only reason I even looked at this last night, Tim, was because when we were talking about the podcast, you're like, what about trivia? And I'm like, you know what? I'll have one trivia question.
I wanted to ask you questions. Goddamn.
Well, I looked up one opening day trivia question, and it's going to be a softball.
Okay.
Who do you think has the most opening day starts for the Cubs? Position players, not pitchers. Who started the most opening day for the Cubs, position player wise? And it's not a tie. There is one guy who's king among all.
Oh boy. I'm trying to guess how many years this guy was there. Sammy Sosa?
Sammy is tied with a plethora of others at 12. This guy had 17 opening day starts.
Oh boy.
Tim, don't overthink it. Ryan Sandberg is tied for second with 13.
Ernie Banks,
17. He had 17 opening starts. So you had Ernie Banks at 17, Rhino, Santo, and Billy Williams at 13. And then Grace, Hartnett, Grimm, Hack, and Sosa.
Grace. Yeah.
Dude, Mark Grace was my favorite. I loved Mark Grace.
I got an
Watching him as
autographed
a-
sign ball from him.
Really?
Yeah, he said
Really?
to Tim, best wishes,
Huh.
Mark Grace.
I have an Anthony Rizzo signed ball somewhere.
Oh, I would rather have that.
I have an Anthony Rizzo and a Ryan Sweeney somewhere.
Yeah.
Because
Rizzy had a little bit of trouble in his days.
it's a little bit of trouble, but
Yeah.
hey, at least he won a World Series with the right. He was on that Diamondbacks team that won that World Series. The Luis Gonzalez against the Yankees.
Like
but
the ultimate pop off. Like that's like the dream when you're in the backyard
mhm.
and you're faking it. You're throwing a ball up to yourself and hitting the bat. Bases loaded.
Yep.
Ninth inning of the World Series. You're like the best World Series.
Yeah.
But
Tim, let's dive into the Cubs. Let's dive in. And we've got a plethora of topics today. Opening day already happened. Cubs played. They lost in extras in 10 innings to the defending World Series champions, the Texas Rangers. And it was a great night, but a bad night. And you're saying, Ricky, how is it a great night? It's a great night because baseball's back and the Cubs are back. However, it was a bad night because not only did we lose Tim, coming into this game, you and I were talking, should we talk injuries? Because, Caleb Killian, right shoulder injury, he's on the 60-day DL. Patrick Wisdom before the game, the day before, he's got some back issues. He's on the 10-day DL. Jamison Tyone, or as I like to call him, Talion. I know that's wrong. He's also got a bad back. He's on the 15-day DL. That's from March 28th. And then during the game, our ace, Justin Steele, looks like he just tweaked his hammy. That's all it was. Running to get a ball, flips it to the first baseman. Kudos getting the out, toughing it out and getting that out, Justin. But tweaked his hamstring. He's now on the 15-day DL, but it could be something like you mentioned before we started recording, Tim, where it's like, he's on the 15-day DL. We'll reevaluate him. He'll probably be out like 30 or 40. But we'll put him on 15, see where he is. If we have to keep him on the DL, put him on the 15 again, we'll do that. They've called up Ben Braun from AAA Iowa. And Tim, the thing I'm going to ask you to start is baseball's a long season. And an injury now isn't necessarily going to kill the Cubs this year. But if you are Craig Counsell and this Cubs team, what's the mindset early on to get over some early injuries? Patrick Wisdom, Tyone, and now Justin Steele. 3 guys who are important, I would say pivotal to the Cubs' success this year.
Yeah, obviously, when you got you already know Tyone's injured. Mm-hmm. We knew that a month or two ago. We know he's not going to be available for the starting lineup. Yeah, Patrick Wisdom, that's a little bit of a shock to begin the season, but he was maybe going to play 3 out of every 5 games, probably DHing a lot against left-handed hitters. Unfortunately, we don't have him, but he's replaceable. Losing your ace like Justin Steele, that's one of the biggest gut punches you can have. Mm-hmm. And it happened in the first game in the 5th inning. Like that stupid little bunt from Leody Taveras, whatever his last name was.
Taveras. It ain't his fault though. He's just trying to play baseball. And
he fell down. I saw it immediately. I was watching it. It scared the hell out of me. I thought he was going to grab his knee. I will say, thank God it was just his hamstring, because that's actually a not as important injury that you can come back from in relative time. But I gotta say, it really is pretty glaring that when people were complaining about Jed Hoyer not signing enough starting pitching free agents, now it kind of justifies that complaint.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing with me is I was doom and gloom when I saw it. Like, I'm thinking like flashbacks in my head, and this is going to be an old pullback of I want to say from my memory banks, it was was it Tony Hunter or Troy Hunter that was on the Twins? That was where he's rounding third, and then all of a sudden he like grabs his like, and he's just like skipping on home, grabbing his right hamstring. And it was like, oh, he's out for months. That's what I was thinking. I was like, no, our season shot. Like he's gonna be out for most of the season. And like I'm watching it with a buddy, and he's like, Ricky, it's a hamstring injury. He'll be fine. Like Ricky, it's not an MCL, it's not an ACL, it's not a. You made a great point before we went live. It's better that it's his hamstring and not anything to do with his throwing arm. If it was like anything with his arm, he's shot. Yeah, but because it's his leg,
he might lose years on his fucking career.
Sorry. Yeah, depending on what it is, because like, I mean, really the big one is. You see the Tommy Johns. If you need Tommy Johns, that's not even just a season thing. That's a career-altering injury. But like, I guess there's silver linings to it. But like, the Cubs are gonna have to weather the storm. And I'm just gonna say the thing that I don't know if I'm being too hard on the team after one game. Like, it's great, Tim, that we're doing this podcast. That we had Thursday off on Friday, and now we're recording this at about 3:30 Central Time before the Cubs' second game, because I get to feel the first game overreactions. There's 160 some games after this, but no, I have to overreact to this one. And there's a part of me that goes,
well, can I ask you this?
Go ahead.
Does the anxiety get amplified because Steele is injured? Or would if Steele went 7 innings, they still lost, would you still have anxiety?
Yes.
Would you still have this doomsday feeling?
Yes and no. And I say no on the side of like, okay, if our pitching is phenomenal, we can stay in games and maybe be dominant. But like, I look at the game and the box score to me tells a different story than what I was feeling. And I could be wrong. I'm okay with being wrong. But just watching that game, and I know it's only game one, felt like there was something off about our offense. Like, yeah, we scored 3 runs, and you're sitting there going, Ricky, if we can score 3 runs, that's a pretty okay game at the ballpark. Like,
sure.
You get out of your ace. If you can get 3 runs for your ace, 75% of the time you're probably going to win that game, because the ace, you're expecting them to keep the teams to 1 run, 2 run. If it's a 3 run, like that's a bad game for your ace. But like, I look at the runs we scored. The Dansby Swanson one, you and I were talking before we recorded. The only reason why the Dansby Swanson sacrifice was even a run was because of our boy, we are the Morale fan club, Christopher Morale, who hit a rocket that he legged out for a triple.
Could have been a single.
Only reason that Dansby got to bat him in. And yeah, you're right. It could have been just a single, but he ropes it into.
Certain players could have made it a single. This dude saw
so quick.
The inexperience in left field with, I believe his name is Carter Evans.
Evan Carter would be correct. Evan Carter.
Did not play that ball well off the wall. It was a great hit.
Yeah.
With his speed and his knowledge of how that guy played that was all Morale. That was amazing what he did.
Yeah. And then
he had that single like 2 innings later. Morale played him incredibly. But go ahead.
And then you get the Bellinger Suzuki. So Suzuki's on base, Bellinger doubles, gets Suzuki home. I'm sitting there going, finally. That's what I expected earlier on. I want like early on in the game, the first time through the lineup, and I know you're sitting there going, well, Ricky, Evaldi was on the mound, Rangers ace. Sometimes you need to see a guy once through the batting order to get a read on him. And I'm sitting there through the first like 4 batters because Morale, 3 batters, and Morale was 4th. After that first inning, I'm like, oh, this ain't good. Like, I was expecting somebody to get some contact, get a hit, get on base. And that was Morale.
That's true, but they were hitting Eovaldi very hard.
I'm saying I was overreacting after the first inning, Tim.
Oh, I got you.
After the first inning, I'm like, why have we not made contact? Why have we not got? I wanted one of our first three to get a hit.
No. I'm pretty sure though the first three batters did have all of them. Well, Hap had a lazy fly out, but Suzuki was robbed on that ball that hit Eovaldi's foot.
Good point.
And then Bellinger almost took a deep.
Good point. Hi, everybody. Just want to take a quick moment out of today's podcast to tell you about our sponsor for today, BETUS, a sports book that has it all, whether it's basketball, hockey, football, soccer, whatever you like to bet on, BETUS has you covered. And they are offering our viewers and listeners today a 125% sign-up bonus just for using our link down below in the description. So go ahead, use that link down below and get your 125% sign-up bonus, BETUS. And now, let's get back to the podcast. Like, I was just worried that we didn't get a hit, and that's the thing. That's the thing that fans you're gonna learn about me is I overreact to everything. Ricky's doom or gloom when it comes to his team. It's over. The season's over.
The whole game. Well, that's what we should be hitting the button on with Steele too. But the whole game was them catching up.
Yeah,
like we went 1-0, then it was 1-1, then it was 2-1, then it was 2-2, then it was 3-2, then it was 3-3, and then they,
I'll be honest too, and the thing I was going to get to is the third run we scored. Some would say that we didn't deserve to score it. Like, and here's the thing. Here's what I'm going to say about it, and I know I'm preaching to a fan base of like people who favor the same team I do, maybe have the same biases that I do. Maybe there's someone who's listening that's not a Cubs fan, but I sit here and I think to myself, watching that replay of the foul ball, because it was a foul ball.
Yep.
I thought to myself, one, there's only three people that know that it was a foul ball: the catcher, the batter, anyone who watched it on replay from the camera angle from center field.
Bingo. If
I was an umpire, with how quick pitches come in and like how like it's over like that ball barely moved to where with how pitchers have moved so much movement on their pitches now, I don't blame the umpire for not knowing that ball got tipped. Because even in the replay, I'm looking at it and I'm like, at first I'm like, did that ball changes direction? Yep, that ball got tipped. And that was at what, like,
why didn't they do the replay?
Slow. Because in baseball you can't challenge. You can't do replay review on that.
On that type of play?
Yep. They only have certain amount of plays that they can review. And most of it is like if they're out or safe at first or home or second or that.
Well, that seems silly.
Well, the whole replay thing in baseball is we're in the primitive era of it. Like,
it will eventually be that, though.
Well, like they're even trying stuff out now in the minors. Where have you seen the stuff in the minors with challenging balls and strikes?
No. Yeah. Well, no. Maybe actually, I think I did. Is it the catcher calls it, right?
Yes. Catcher's the one who calls it. I think they get a limited number per inning. Like, I think it's like probably 2 like per inning. Or,
yeah.
There's a limited number, so it's not going to be something. But like that, I'm very interested in because I like it. To where it's like all the catcher does is do this. They put the replay. It's not even the replay. It's the like K zone. Yeah, I like it because of how quick it is, and it doesn't slow the game down. The thing, like 10 seconds. The thing I don't like about it is I saw one on Twitter from this week, Tim, and pitch comes in, catcher goes, I want to challenge it. So they're like, all right, put it on the board. This pitch was down and outside to the hitter. It clipped this much of the corner.
And they call it a strike.
And you have to, because technically by the rules, it clips a part of the strike zone. So it's a strike.
And that bothers you?
It bothers me because who's gonna, like, if it clips that much, I know someone's going to say, Ricky, it's the rules. It clipped the strike zone. But realistically, who's going to do anything with that pitch? Nobody's swinging at that pitch. Even if it clipped, like if I even go smaller, if it clipped that much of the strike zone, nobody's going to swing at that because 90%, even 99% of the ball is outside the strike zone.
On 2 strikes, you got to be swinging at anything close.
I think it was a 2-strike count too, which even like I just saw that and I was like, that was right? Infuriating. But that's besides the point.
It is besides the point. We got more important things to talk about.
Cubs scored that run, and people are probably like, they shouldn't have scored that run. So really, if you're looking at it, Tim, yes, on the scorecard, our offense had 3 runs, but really our offense only scored 2 runs. And if not for Christopher Morel and his smart play and his speed, really the Cubs only scored 1 run.
I do want to say, though, that if we didn't have that unlucky bounce with Madrigal, we would have scored that 1 run. So, like,
good point.
Yeah, we got that cheesy run off.
You're saying the double that he hit down the right field line that bounced over the wall.
I forgot who was on second would have scored.
Yeah, he would. You're right.
So, like, it kind of evens out there. That one's a little unfair to be like, we cheesed our way into being competitive in that game because we were incredibly competitive in that game.
Yeah.
It was our bullpen that gave up.
Well, and that's the thing, Tim, that I was going to mention too, is you know who I'm going to be very, very, very nervous of all year because I was nervous about him last year. I'm going to screw up his name. Ezele. I'm going to be very nervous of him all year because I was very nervous of him last year.
You know, the home run he gave up, I will say, was not a bad pitch.
Mm-hmm.
He threw a solid slider with really strong downward movement into the into the bottom left-hand corner of a lefty hitter, and the kid was just ready for it. Pinch hitter, I think his name was Tristan something. I can't remember. But, he just cranked it and made Alzolay look like a I don't blame his pitch selection like most do.
Okay.
But, you know, you got to own what happened. You know, that's an earned run. Hit a home run off him. So,
yeah, he's Jankowski.
I don't think if I'm managing, I don't think I'm putting him out there that early. But,
well, and you say that, Tim, if you're managing. Let's kind of segue in for a second.
Let's do it.
Cubs have a new manager, and it's Craig Counsell. And Tim, I will say, and I'm putting this out here for full transparency to the listeners out there, is coming into the season before game 1, we were talking and you had said, I love Craig Counsell. And I was like, I don't know. I'm 50-50.
You did.
Now, after game 1, Tim was like, I don't know, Ricky, I might be 50-50 as well.
Well, I was confused by a few things. I don't know.
Is it game 1 overreactions? Is that what we're kind of?
Of course it is. Of course it is. But, like, you know, what we got one game to talk about here.
Yeah.
You know, let's if we do this tomorrow, we got 2 games. But Morel being the DH and Madrigal starting a third, fine, makes sense. That's a Craig Counsell move. He had to adapt to Steele getting hurt, bringing in Merriweather made sense to me. He needed somebody to do an inning before he could figure something out, and Merriweather's the guy to do that.
Yeah.
Gary Cooper batting with men on, leading off an inning and striking out looking.
Yeah. Strikeout swinging. You can't strike out looking.
Instead of Talkman or somebody like that. Like, But there were moves that I did like. I liked putting Mastrobuoni instead of Madrigal. He had that heads up play at third.
Yeah.
When they had the bases loaded, they were trying to keep the game tight, and he threw it home. There was no play for the double play. He threw it home. That was the right play to go.
Yeah.
Like I think he's very defensive minded. I might have put a little bit too much stock into my hype, but I'd really like to hear what you think about it.
So, like I said, I'm 50-50. And the reason why I'm 50-50 is I'll start off with the good. So if you look at Craig Counsell and his managerial career, he spent it all with the Brewers. Became their manager in 2015 after 2 years of being in the cellar, fourth in the Central. They have a breakout year 2017, 86 wins, good for second in the Central, not good enough to make the playoffs. However, 18, 19, 20, and 21. First in the Central, second in the Central, fourth in the Central, but that was the COVID year, so everyone made the playoffs that year. And then 2021, first in the Central. Again, last year, first in the Central. Since 2018, had made the playoffs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of 6 years? That's not bad. That's not bad for a manager. Now, ran into some bad luck. They made it to the NLCS in 2018, ran into the Dodgers. Then in Dodgers, who I believe, no, they didn't win it that year. They ran into Washington in 2019. Washington won that, won the whole thing that year, because I remember that because Tim, little bit of backstory, we did a podcast before the playoffs or last 3 games, and this was when the Cubs could have made the playoffs. This was the year where the Cubs and Brewers were basically tied. We had the 1-game playoff with the Brewers. Winner played the Nationals in the wild card. And I will never forget this, Tim. I said, and you can still go back and listen to it because it's on the channel. I said the one team, if I'm the Cubs, I'm not afraid of is the Washington Nationals, because that's the team I think we can beat in the wild card. And what did the Nationals proceed to do, Tim? They went on and won the whole thing. The one team I wasn't afraid of went on and won the whole thing.
So you dumbass.
So 2019, they run into the World Series champions. 2020, in the wild card game or wild card series, guess what they did? They ran into the World Series champions, the LA Dodgers. Then they lose to Atlanta in 2021. They lose to Arizona in 2023. All good teams he's lost to. Arizona was hot last year. The Braves have been good. Dodgers have always been good, dating back to even like 2016, 2015. So my positive is this could be a manager that gets us to the playoffs. My negatives are the Cubs, and since Theo Epstein has left us, Tim, the Cubs and their decisions with managers, and I know we've only had a big one, but it was a big decision. I don't know if I trust Jed Hoyer with his manager choices. And the reason why is Theo leaves, Madden's still here. I feel like the only reason we got rid of Joe Madden was because I have this, what's the word I'm looking for? Picture in my head or thought in my head about Jed Hoyer, to where don't know the guy, would love to meet him, but I feel like Jed Hoyer's got the syndrome of like, well, I was a part of that World Series team too and putting it together. It wasn't all Theo. Theo gets all the credit. You know what?
Oh,
Theo
Napoleon
can't. You know what?
complex?
I was the one that was a part of that too. I'm going to show them. That's why we got rid of Joe Madden. Hey, he's not making the playoffs. Let's get rid of him. Bring in David Ross, which I liked at first because I'm like, dude, I love Rossi. Then I saw a couple series and I was like, oh, he's not a manager.
Yeah.
He's not a manager. And the only year he made the playoffs was in 2020, which one, COVID year, where everyone made the playoffs. Two, still had Joe Madden's talent. We hadn't shipped everyone off at that point. Like, there was still remnants of that Joe Madden-like team. 2020, 2022, 2023, the Cubs are dismal. I know last year, second in the Central, we shouldn't say dismal. Last year was a gut punch, Tim. We should have made the playoffs last year, but I'm kind of glad we didn't.
Well,
because I'll ask you, if we make the playoffs, is Craig Counsell even our manager this year?
Ooh, is Craig Counsell still our manager?
Because do they fire Ross if we make the playoffs last year?
They missed by, I believe, one game.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Depends on how far they get. That's a really good question. I didn't expect that one.
Because we would have made the wild card.
Would you have rather entered that playoff with Craig Counsell as your manager?
Yes. Yeah, I would.
So
and that's why I'm kind of glad we didn't.
Whatever
make
the
playoffs.
answer is here, we made the right choice.
I'm hoping. It's just one of those things where it's like, I don't want to come out and say like, oh yes, this is great. Oh yes, this is bad. Because for the first time in my life, I'm looking at it going, I got to wait and see how he is. The track record's there. Everything about him says that I shouldn't be worried, but I'm worried. Like, and it's something to where you go, like, I even know that because it's like, Ricky, there's no facts here that tell you should be worried.
No,
but guess what? I'm worried. Really. I'm worried, and I don't know why. Because maybe it's just because this team has always broken my heart, except for 2016.
Sure, you're apprehensive.
2016 was the only year the Cubs gave me any type of joy.
David Ross being the manager was like your uncle being the manager. You know,
exactly.
you were stoked about it. You knew he had flaws, but you had a connection to him, and so did I. You know, it was we had Unk in there. Now, some stepdad stepped in, you know, and we're like, oh, I don't know about him. On paper, he looks really good, but I don't know. But like, I would say definitely trust in him because he's got the managerial talent to know when to make subs and lineups based on the pitcher, based on where they are. He's a dynamo at defensive lineups.
Okay.
I really think that there's going to be a giant platoon on the Cubs this year. You're going to see everybody with almost like a similar at-bat total.
Okay.
It's not going to be a Lupinell year where, you know, it's just the same guys every year.
Is Craig gonna go out and argue as much as Lou did?
I hope not. You know, but like I really think you're gonna see a lot of mix and matches. I think he's smart that way, and I think it's gonna attribute to you know, they always do the how many wins does a manager add to a team. I think he's in like the 5 to 6 range.
Okay.
Like over Ross.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, how many wins do you think this team needs to win the division or even make the playoffs?
Well, last year we did not make the playoffs and we had 83. I will let you know this, Tim, and this maybe leads into the last thing we were going to do, the big meat and potatoes of what we were going to talk about, was the rest of the division and kind of win totals. So last year, the Cubs had 83 wins, and that missed the playoffs. The Brewers had 92, and they were in first. The Reds also had 82. They were right behind us. Right now, I'm looking at FanDuel, Tim, as my reference. Vegas seems to think that the Cubs are right around where we were last year because their win total for us for over-under is 82.5. So that is pretty much right where we were last year, where it's like could be 83, but maybe we like take a couple games off of last year.
Mm-hmm.
I'll ask you, do you think that is people being cautious about the Cubs and not knowing what like a Craig Counsell brings? Or is this a like, yeah, you know what? We're probably like, we lost some pieces, Candelario being the big free agent that we lost. We might be the exact same as we were last year. Manager comes in. We don't have as like some of the talent left, but the manager's good enough to get us to the amount of wins we were probably at last year.
Well, it's hard to say. We've got like one of my most favorite parts of this team is our depth.
Okay.
And our prospects. I think we have a lot of really good young talent. So who knows what's going to happen with them in the future? In terms of this year, 82, 83, 81, that's where I would have them at an average. I think like at a ceiling, I don't think they... No, I believe they can win 90 or 91. At their ceiling.
Okay.
At their floor, I have them at 72, 73 wins, which is pretty much, you know, just swapping the numbers.
Yeah.
90 and 72 or 72 and 90. Which averages out, ironically, to 81 and 81, which is 500.
Yeah.
Which is kind of segments me into currently... I really think that without Steele, if the Cubs can go 500 for the remainder until he comes back,
that's a win.
That's a huge win.
Yeah.
That's a huge win.
Now, the thing that I'm thinking about, maybe I'm missing something here, Tim. The thing that I'm confused with this offseason, and maybe it's because I hate this team and I was so happy last year when they were in the cellar where they belong, because I hate this team. And if they didn't exist, Tim, I would be perfectly happy. If they never existed. And that's the St. Louis Cardinals.
Yeah.
Tim, little story for our podcast, like story time with Ricky here, of how much does Ricky hate the Cardinals? This is a story from you've probably heard this story because I tell it a lot. This was back young Ricky, 18 years old, coming right out of high school. I'm just entering college. It's a new time, baby. We're becoming an adult, or that's what they said. And I'm at college orientation, and my friend, me and her coming from the same school, we were kind of like, hey, we'll stick together for this orientation. Like, she's like, you can help me meet some guys. I'll help you meet some girls. It's a win-win for us. So I'm like, fine, whatever. At least I'm not sitting on my own being a loser because I know literally nobody else here.
Where's this going?
The point being, she had befriended a girl, and she's like, oh, she's awesome. She'll right up your alley, kind of a thing. And I'm talking to her, and it's like, all right, she's kind of cool. We've got some common interests and stuff. And I see right below like her sleeve, like a little tattoo, kind of like,
oh no,
poking its way
what was it
out.
a tattoo of?
And I go, oh, you've got tattoos. And she's like, oh yeah. And she goes like this, and it is the Cardinals logo, huge on her like arm right under her shoulder. Tim, I looked at it, and it was like I was a part of Community. I was Jeff Winger. I went, nope. And I turned around and walked away. I didn't even say anything, but nope. And I turned around and walked away. My friend was she's like, how could you be such an a-hole? I'm like, no, I could if you knew anything about me.
Ricky's Cub commitment.
I was like, nope.
He turned down for being a Cubs fan.
I hate the Cardinals so much. I think I hate them mostly because of one, most pretentious fans I've ever met. Like,
Sure.
the Cardinals fans think that baseball wouldn't exist without us.
Baseball's Greatest Fans is a great Twitter follow. I encourage all of you to follow it.
But then also, how many times, Tim, have our own, they bleed blue and red, and then they go over there to the evil empire, not the Yankees.
Contreras.
And then Contreras, Ryan Terrio. Oh, I'm on the right side of the rivalry. Dexter Fowler. What, do the Cardinals just like do they like our sloppy seconds? Is that all they like? Oh, they were a Cub.
It makes me reevaluate my ranking of favorite Cubs.
Because Dexter Fowler was one of your favorite Cubs, wasn't it?
Dude, can you imagine if like Schwarber went over there?
No, please no.
You know what I mean? Like that would like break your heart.
Yeah, it would.
Rizzo.
It would. You know what? It took a lot.
I don't care that he's a Yankee. That's fine with me.
It ate at me because with the Yankees,
he looks like a Yankee, dude.
He does look like a Yankee.
He looks like Babe Ruth.
Tony Rizzatoni. Hey, at the matzo ball. Hey, Tony.
He was supposed to be a Yankee.
Hey, mambo Italiano. Oh, but like, yeah, he looks like a Yankee. As a kid, I hated the Yankees too. So like, Rizzo is like, okay, for the longest time, Tim, I'll ask you this. Back in the day, when it was the Aramis Ramirez, Carlos Zambrano Cubs, who was your favorite on that team? I'm talking like Derek Lee, Gonzalez, Aramis.
You can stop there. It's Derek Lee.
Okay. You were Aramis was my favorite back in those days.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's hard to pick. I love Derek Lee. Aramis, though, he had 2 back-to-back seasons of 30 homers and 100 RBIs.
Yeah. Aramis and Big Z were my faves. Those are my 2 faves. Tony Rizzatoni is now my all-time favorite Cub. Like he blew, like I didn't think anyone could touch Aramis Ramirez. And then here comes Anthony Rizzo. And I'm like, I love this guy. He is my favorite Cub. And still is. The point with the Cardinals is 71 wins last year, Tim. Are you buying the hype that everyone is about these Cardinals, where you look at Vegas, oh, they're putting the Cardinals at plus 170, lowest odds to win the Central. They're the favorites to win. Oh, Cardinal wins. Oh, they're probably going to have the over-under is 84.5. Like, is everyone drinking the Cardinal Kool-Aid too much, or is there something that we should be worried about the Cardinals this year?
I mean, as always, it's always somewhere in the middle, you know? They're not as hyped up as they should be, and they're not as great as they're described.
Okay.
You know, it's always somewhere in the middle. They're going to be very contentious with the Cubs. I think it's going to be Cubs, Cardinals, and then Brewers always nipping at the ankles this year. I might be wrong. Always, you know, anything can happen. You know, injuries happen. You know, but no, I don't think the Cardinals are overhyped the way people talk about it. I think they do have a really good team. Their infield is, you know, I wish we had that kind of offense, but
well, you want Nolan Arenado? Is that who you want? Do you want Nolan Arenado?
Yeah, don't they have that Golan guy, Gorlan? What's
Goldschmidt?
No, the other third baseman.
I'm pulling him up.
I don't know. I might be.
That's not the
him on the team.
I type in. The problem is I type in Cardinals depth chart, and my computer's like, "Oh, you meant football, right?" So like,
no. But the short and skinny of it is, I think that the Cubs will be competing with, again, the Cardinals for the division.
Like, so first base,
I think it will be tough.
So first base, they got Goldschmidt, Carpenter, and Donovan.
Isn't Goldschmidt like 39 years old?
Yes. Then at second base, they got Gorman. Donovan is also at second base.
That's the guy I was talking about.
Carpenter, and then Tommy Edman, who's on the DL right now.
Isn't Gorman like a stud?
Yeah, he is. He's really good. He's young. Nolan Arenado at third. Shortstop, that's probably where Crawford will play, but they also got Brendan Donovan there too. He's listed everywhere. Victor Scott in center, but they also have Newt Barr when he comes back off the DL. Dylan Carlson as well. And then in right now it's Jordan Walker. But like I said, Newt Barr, Edman, Carlson all on the DH. Honestly, looking at their rotation, dude, the rotation's not bad. Sonny Gray coming in. He's on the DL right now, but he should be solid. Mikolas was good last year. Lance Lynn is a back of the rotation guy's not bad. Kyle Gibson is decent. Steven Matz, I actually take it back. We might have to worry about the Cardinals this year. I take it back. We might have to worry about the Cardinals.
Who was telling you that we didn't?
Maybe it was me. Maybe it was me of like, how is this team who was in last place automatically because you know what team in the Central I think doesn't get enough love or isn't getting enough love? The Reds. I think the Reds are going to be really dangerous this year. And
I don't know why I roll my eyes at that.
There's a dude, the Reds, the Reds are like, think about this. So you know how everyone's saying like the Orioles are going to take the big step this year? The Reds are like that on a second level, where they're not going to be like if they take the next step, it's like, oh, the Reds aren't going to win the World Series like the Orioles have the potential to if their young talent gets together. But dude, this Reds team, if the Cubs don't lock in and get it going and get on some streaks, there's a chance that I think we're below the Reds in the standings.
Really?
Yes. If things don't click for us this year,
what do you think they got over us in that situation?
Just talent. Just
offense.
Their bats are pretty much the big thing because I'll be completely honest.
You love Ellie.
I love Ellie De La Cruz, but that's not even the part. It's if he takes a step this year in the right direction, that alone is going to make them dangerous. Because last year they had bats and guys where you had Tyler Stevenson at catcher was hitting phenomenally. They add in Candelario, who was playing well for us. They also have Steer, India, Ellie De La Cruz, like I mentioned. Like all of these guys were on a roll last year. If they even get on that same roll this year or take a step in the right direction this year, that could be dangerous for us. Like looking at their rotation, all right, they're going to have to prove themselves. Hunter Green was okay last year. Ashcraft was The big one is Frankie Montas. Is Frankie Montas actually going to be something, or is he going to be the guy with the Oakland A's that was just like, well, are you only good because you're on the Oakland A's? You know what I mean?
Well, that doesn't really count with a pitcher, though.
Mm-hmm.
Frankie Montas is going to be a good pitcher.
Yeah.
In the big leagues. We don't play Cincinnati. I'm looking at the schedule until the end of May.
Good.
Plenty of time to figure it out. But
and that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying we won't figure it out. They're just a team I look at and I go, yeah, they're the true underdogs in the Central, the ones that could get it going.
I don't think they have a chance either, though.
They have a chance to make noise and steal.
Hesitate with your argument there.
Well,
I don't see them doing better than third.
Their ceiling is stealing a playoff spot from either the Cardinals or the Cubs.
You really think so?
Yes, that is their ceiling. Like, if they have a phenomenal year, they're stealing a playoff spot from one of us.
Interesting.
They probably won't go further than that. Like that's the thing too. Like I say, they probably won't go farther enough. But let's just look back to 2019 when I said what I said about the Nationals, and this is true in any sport, football and baseball, kind of the truest.
Sure.
All you gotta do is get that foot in the door. You get that foot in the door, make the playoffs, new season, anything can happen. How many times do we see it where it's like, this team's in last place of the playoff teams. They're not going to do anything. You win a wild card series. You win a divisional series. All right, now you win a championship series. Whoa, now we're in the World Series, boys. Anything can happen. Like, we've seen that a couple times to where, not saying that does happen with the Reds. I'm not trying to blow smoke where the sun don't shine, but like, I would be remiss if I said I wasn't worried about him as a Cubs fan.
Trying to blow smoke. It's almost 420.
The Brewers and Pirates, I just think are going to be bottom of they're the cellar. Yeah. Pirates obviously in the bottom, but like, I think the Brewers are going, the Brewers are the team that, so like, after talking with you, Cardinals.
Well, let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
How many wins do you think we need to have to win the division? And then how many wins do you think we need to have to make the playoffs?
To win the division, 85 at the least, probably towards 87, 90.
Would you cap 90 at the ceiling?
90 to 92 would be my ceiling.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought similar.
Yeah. 87, 88, 89 is where I would that'd be the hot range of that, probably right there. To make the playoffs, I think 82, 83 could do it. It's not going to be a comfortable get in.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't see it being that far off.
But this is the not winning the division, making the playoffs at the bare minimum. Yeah. You're thinking 83 wins.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I wrote down at 85, but I'm in the same range as you.
Yeah.
I got our ceiling at 90 wins. I got our floor at 72, just kind of reversing the two. 90 wins, 72 losses versus 72 wins, 90 losses. I think a lot of that has to do with injuries, staying healthy. That seems to be the linchpin for this team. Once Steele got hurt, we all realized that this team kind of fell apart.
Yeah.
And it happened in 5 innings. Immediately we go, well, our starting pitching was already so fragile. Now we have to figure out how to replace our ace.
Yeah.
Until maybe June.
Hopefully it's not that long. Hopefully it is only 2 starts. I know it won't be.
Hold on. I'm getting a call.
Go ahead.
Hello? He is? All right, let me get right back to you. All right, thank you. Bye. Hey, Ricky.
Yes, Tim.
Rich Hill is available.
I am so dumb. I am so dumb. Oh, this is going to be great for podcasting. Tim told me he was going to do this bit, and I forgot he was going to do this bit. Oh.
Hey, we can bring back Rich Hill, the old Cub legend, Rich Hill.
Yeah, so before I get in on Rich Hill, Tim.
The fucking starter, he had, 20 fucking strikeouts last year.
So before I get to Rich Hill, Tim, I got to take a quick aside of how dumb I am. You ready for this? So when you said, hang on, I'm getting a call, I was like, all right, cool, that's fine. And I'm writing down okay, this is where I'm going to have to make a cut in the podcast because Tim got a call. And then I heard you talk and I was like, oh no, I should mute it because I don't think he wants a conversation going over the air. For 1 second you were muted. I realized, oh, he said this. So I unmuted you for the rest. But I was I am so dumb. I forgot he was going to do this bit and I didn't. You got me, Tim. You told me about the bit. And you still got me. I don't know how I feel about Rich Hill. Is that bad?
No.
No, should we honestly sign Rich Hill?
No. I'm just... I'm
Now, I'll throw...
No, it's It's stupid. It's just funny because he used to be a Cub.
I'm gonna throw this out here, and this.
You know what though? He didn't do horrible last year, and he's a nice. I don't know. It'd be fun to see him return as a Cub.
Mm-hmm.
He's almost 20 years deep in his career.
Mm-hmm.
He debuted in 2005.
Wow.
Like
we were still in high school.
Dude is a goer. And last year he did pretty good with Pittsburgh. He got traded to San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
Went like 1 for 4 win-loss, But like he was 7 for 10 in Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
A 4.50 ERA, whatever. But like a guy that like has experience that could like, I'm not saying Rochelle, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying a guy like this. We need a guy to come in here for 2 months that has experience, that can just kind of plug away, give you 5-6 innings, be a constant. Like how the reason we signed what was his name in 2016 with the horse teeth?
The horse teeth.
Oh, I'm so stupid.
Chapman?
I shouldn't even brought
we
this
traded
up.
for Chapman.
No, starting pitcher. They got the
Lance Lynn?
Cardinals.
Oh, yeah, it was Lynn.
John. No, it wasn't Lance Lynn.
Oh,
my
what was
God,
his
I feel
name?
So stupid.
He was Lackey.
Lackey.
I got you. I got your back, Tim. Lackey. Because in the playoffs he was our 5th starter.
You brought him in because he had that experience in there, and he was a constant.
Yes.
His range of where he's going to be good or bad was so small. You knew what it was.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't. It doesn't mean it was great. It wasn't an A. It wasn't a A plus. Yeah. But you knew his floor wasn't low.
Yeah.
That's what we need to bring in right now to supplement for Steele being out.
I want to throw something in real quick, cutting you off.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Brought this article up to you in our prep for the podcast. There's people already talking about at the deadline, which is months away, the Cubs trading for a Shane Bieber from the Guardians. Do we need something like that? Do we need to bring in a guy who's got a little bit of veteran experience to maybe, let's be honest, we're not bringing anyone in to be the ace over Steele, but to come in and be like, hey, we got to add some veteran boost to this rotation.
Possibly. I'd rather see that sign or that addition to the team happening in free agency. Okay. Yeah. I wonder what we'd have to give up in the trade.
Tons of prospects.
Yeah, but you know what we have an abundance of?
Prospects.
You're telling me. I love our guys down south. I absolutely have so much affection for so many of these prospects that we got down there.
Mm-hmm. Are you talking in Iowa?
In Iowa, in
Florida,
and fucking Dayton. Yeah.
Right? Because we've got... Oh, that's it. So, that's right. I don't think they're in Florida anymore. Our AAA team's in Iowa. Their AA team's in Tennessee. And then our high A team is in South. I knew we had one in South Bend. Our high A is in South Bend.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've got our low A team is in Myrtle Beach. Didn't we used to have a team in Florida? A minor league team in Florida? Or am I going crazy?
I think that's not right. Mm-hmm. But Dayton is a town in Florida, right?
Yeah, I think so. Dayton's also in Ohio.
Why do I think Dayton? It was AAA Dayton or
maybe AAA? I thought AAA has always been Iowa. Maybe it was the Schmokies, which is our AA team. I don't remember. I don't remember them being Tennessee.
Yeah, they've always been Tennessee. I don't
okay.
I can't think of that.
Yeah. I have no idea.
You want to talk prospects for a second?
Go ahead. To me, this would be mostly on you. Because with the prospects, I'm kind of...
I wanted to bounce some questions off you.
Try me.
What do you think about PCA? Pete Crow Armstrong?
I think we see him this year. I hope we see him this year. is what I'm hoping for.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if it's like a the Orioles have a young prospect where they're doing the whole Chris Bryant thing. I don't know if it's going to be anywhere near that where it's like, we're just keeping him down there. But like,
I wouldn't worry about that.
I want him up here. Like if he comes up here, yes, not like injury up here, but I hope he's playing well enough by mid-season at the earliest that it's like, dude, we need him up here. I just want bats, dude. I want offense. I want like.
Well, he's more defense than offense.
I just want position
From what I've seen
players.
in spring training. Like he's billed as the 5-tool player. What I saw, 2 tools, maybe 3.
Okay, so you think
I'm kind of pedaling back on the PCA stuff.
Okay, is there a reason? You just think he's not the 5-tool guy?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't think the office thinks that way.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're like still
they
like
think my way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and he definitely could be. I'm just talking about what I saw. You know?
Yeah.
I didn't watch his minor league stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But so he's not going to be a trade prospect. But what they got that other kid, Brendan Davis, down there.
Mm-hmm.
Pair him with maybe an Owen Cassie, the right fielder there.
Yep.
You might be able to get another starting pitcher.
Owen Cassie, MLB has as our 3rd ranked prospect.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, PCA is our number 1 ranked.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's either Matt Shaw or what's his name?
Is it Shaw because of the last name? Is distant relative there?
Oh, damn, that's my last name. No, Triantos.
Okay.
Is the other guy I like.
Shaw is our 4th ranked. Triantos is our 6th ranked.
6th ranked, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But like I love the top 10 here. Our prospects are fucking great.
Am I crazy? Didn't Kevin Alcantara didn't we call him up at some point? Like late in the year?
Yeah, he played a little bit last year at the end of the year, September, and then he played a lot in the spring training.
Okay. I was gonna say that like the name and the look. I'm like, I think I've seen him before. Yeah, but Ben Brown, number 10, we're gonna see what he gets to look like because he's called up.
Apparently he's gonna pitch on Wednesday, right?
Yeah, he's being called up with the James Steele news. We got him in the David Robinson deal.
Mm-hmm.
The whole trade with, I think, David Robinson going something with the Phillies, either going to the Phillies or from the Phillies, is where we got Brown from. But
yeah, I mean, he had a few starts in the spring training. Did all right. I'm not stoked about him being the guy, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
Would obviously Keith's coming out of the bullpen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I would say that's one of our biggest weaknesses.
Is the bullpen.
Yeah.
Yeah. I said it a little bit with Alizé, like there's a lot of our guys in the bullpen when they come in, I'm just going to be doing this like, oh, please don't screw this up, because that's what it was last year. A lot of guys from the bullpen came up and it's like, great, the starter did well, and then we lost because our bullpen couldn't keep the ball in the park. I remember watching a game last year. It was when I visited my girlfriend in Arizona. I'm sitting on her couch watching the Cubs and the Brewers play. It was like 10:30 in the morning because, West Coast time. And real competitive game. Cubs have just hit a home run to take the lead. What does our bullpen do? I think it was, it wasn't Alizé. Oh, shoot. It's a dude whose name started with a P.
Palencia?
Yes. It was him. Believe he came into the game gave up a home run right away to names are escaping me. Either like Adamas or something. Like it's one of the lower end guys.
Kind of thinking that I like Palencia to maybe come up and
take
a place for Steele.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. The one thing though that I will say, Tim, that'll be interesting to see if it happens. I got a fun fact for you to end the podcast. Did you know the last 4 years, so dating back to 2020, the preseason favorite in the Central has not won the division the last 4 years, with 3 of the previous 4 winners coming from the team with the second best odds in spring. Guess who has the second best odds right now to win the Central?
The Blue Jays.
The Cubbies, baby. There's a chance we win the division, baby. We are the second best team in the preseason rankings.
That stupid statistic.
I mean, I think it's interesting that stuff like that. The last
I think that is a gigantic mirror to the people that make these projections.
The Brewers won the division from the number 2 spot last year.
It's hard to tell who's going to win from the beginning of the season. You know,
yeah,
it's hard to call it.
Well, it's like I'll say this year,
it's a half court shot. You know.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because last year the Cardinals were minus 115 to win the division. They finished last. Yeah. So it's like.
Well, I guarantee they won't finish last this year.
Yeah, well, now they're plus 175 as the favorite to win the division. Before we wrap everything up, Tim, I got to ask you. I ask this to every newbie when they come in.
Newbie?
Yeah, what do you think? Your first podcast underneath you can take it, put it underneath your belt.
Fun.
How you feel?
A lot of fun.
You like it? You still nervous? Thinking about improvements?
No. As soon as it started, I wasn't nervous anymore.
Nice. It was just talking baseball. That's all it is.
Yeah, it was fun.
Just 2 guys talking ball, but this is where you guys come in. Let us know down below what you guys think. Check out our social medias. Most Valuable Pod on Instagram, MVP.vids on the TikToks, X or Twitter, MVP_vids, sub button, like buttons, Discord, Patreon in the description. We are going to be getting this onto Apple Podcast and iTunes. Might take, so you guys are going to see this also. I didn't say this at the top. Happy Easter, everybody. You guys are going to be seeing this on YouTube Easter Sunday. So happy Easter to everyone out there. Give us about week to get everything situated with Apple Podcast and Spotify. I don't expect it to take too long. But Tim, you never know how the stuff, like how much time it's going to take to get stuff approved with them. So we will be on Apple Podcasts. We will be on Spotify. So you can pull us up on your phones as well. Just got to get all that back end after we recorded this first episode. But Tim, great podcast. I hope little cheers of my Dr. Pepper drink. I hope it is a great year for us. And that we are very happy by the end, and we go far in. That we take this podcast far into October.
Oh God, that'd be a dream.
Take it all the way through October. But that's going to do
November.
Into November.
Into the election, just like 2016.
That is true. Last time there was an election, the Cubs won the World Series. That's going to do it for Tim and I. Thank you guys for everything, and as always,
thanks guys.
Have a good day, everybody.
Adios.
As always, we'd like to thank the people that make these videos possible, our patrons whose names are displayed on the screen now. If you would like to become a patron, go ahead and click the Patreon icon in the bottom right. And if you'd like to check out another video from MVP Sports, hit the video in the upper left. As always, thanks for watching.